Well, my friends, we finally made it. Oh my goodness. We have been talking about and advocating for little Harmony Montgomery for 2+ years. We started in January of 2022. She is still missing. They have not found her body, but at this point, teardrop has gone down. Either way. And on one hand, I'm really giddy to watch him get his justice. On the other hand, I'm super pissed that he won't let his daughter have her final resting place. There's teardrop right there. He has been offered deal. That's what he thought was good for his daughter. A ceiling vent, a cooler, and a maternity bag. And I think this gentleman pictured next to Harmony should be on trial too, because this is the judge whose poor judgment put Harmony in harm's way. These judges have got to be held accountable. I'm so sick of the politics when it comes to public safety, particularly our children. He has a new boat. He's partially retired. He's still a judge in Massachusetts that's presiding over traffic court. Maybe he'll get some of those decisions right. I don't know. But he didn't do the right thing for Harmony at all. At all. Well, hello, y'all's world. Exactly. Justice for Harmony Montgomery. Exactly. Makes you wonder, how did she really push his buttons? And where the hell Kayla's going to go when she gets out of step-meth? I don't know. She has to present an address. So last I saw, she's still in jail waiting to be released. Exactly, just me. We just have to, like she said, by breathing. Let's take a second and remember Harmony before we get to this. Damn them. And there's no peace for any family because no family member gave a shit. Not even one. Her biological mother, her grandparents. Adam can't get the DP because it's only second-degree murder. You can't have first-degree murder in, I don't know, in New Hampshire, particularly without a body. And they took away death penalty in 2019. Hopefully this governor changes it. The only family that's going to be hurting forever and a day is Jameson and the two men that adopted him. All right, this came out on WMUR Channel 9 yesterday. Gotta give the shout out. This is what they're saying. Victim impact statements will be an important part of the sentencing.
Here, Patricia, Adam Montgomery transported to the courthouse. We just saw that. He's due in the courtroom in under an hour for the sentencing. How important is it that he be there in person, even though he lobbied to not attend a sentencing at all?
Right. Well, it's very important for him to be there for the victim's family, so that they can address, their comments to him. Their comments will be addressed to the court, but also for him to hear it as well. I think it is very cathartic for victims to address, the person who did these horrific crimes to his face.
And we mentioned that the prosecution submitted a sentencing recommendation of 56 years to life. No sentencing recommendation from the defense. Is there any way to gauge what the judge will decide?
Yeah, I mean, so the sentencing recommendation from the state, they cited a bunch of cases that are similar in nature, murders of children in typically the same way, through beating. So, their sentencing recommendation is right along with what those defendants got. So, the judge will be guided by that, but also something to consider also is Adam Montgomery has an extensive criminal history, which was brought up in the sentencing memorandum. So, that's something that the judge will take into consideration as well.
And to this date, Montgomery maintains his innocence in the murder of his daughter, only admitting that he helped hide her body. At this point, is there any chance for any sort of a plea deal in exchange for information?
Yeah, well, remember, he still has, I think, 2 trials to go. So he may try to work something out. Also, again, if there's information that he has that he wants to perhaps tell the state or the prison for favorable treatment, certainly that was something that he could consider. But again, he might want to be waiting to see what he gets here for a sentence and then determining if it's in his best interest to reveal her whereabouts.
We touched on this a little bit, and I want to return to it because this could be really emotional testimony today. We're hearing from Harmony's mother, her foster family, and more. How important are these victim impact statements?
Victim impact statements can be incredibly important for a judge to hear just exactly how a crime has impacted either the victim or the victim's family. Certainly here, Harmony cannot speak for herself, so her family will be speaking on her behalf. So yes, it is very important for judges to hear, just exactly how crimes impact victims. And in this case, of course, the whole community was impacted because of the publicity surrounding her disappearance.
Certainly. Now, once the sentence is announced, is this case done? Do we expect appeals? You mentioned more trials.
Right. So he does have a couple more trials scheduled, but for this particular case, after he's sentenced, he has the option to appeal his actual sentence to, usually it's a panel of 3 Superior Court judges who would review. It's called sentence review. And also, of course, there are appeals to the Supreme Court. There were a number of motions filed, motions to suppress various pieces of evidence, statements, etc. So anything that was ruled against him, he could bring up possibly on appeal to the Supreme Court to say this was a legal error made on the part of the judge.
Patricia LaFrance, former prosecutor, thank you so much for your insight today.
Legal error made by the judge. Did y'all hear that? A legal error made by the judge. Okay, so if I'm backing out of my driveway and there is a child behind me and I'm not paying attention and I hit the child, God forbid, do I get to jump out of the car and go, I just had an error. I didn't see the child. Someone has to pay for someone's life unless, well, we know why. And as far as Crystal going around showboating all the time, kiss my ass. I have tried with Crystal for over 2 years. You can't get anywhere with her. And I mean, you can't get anywhere with her. She is out of her mind. And this legal errors, that legal error led to the murder of Harmony Montgomery. I was a little bit late to the show today. I'll show you why. I've had a little bit more of this going on with OJ today. If that coffee table is not right in front of the TV, he gets pissed.
What have we here? Oh, it's a man cub. A delicious man cub.
Oh, go away and leave me alone.
That's just what I should do, but I'm not. Oh, now, please go to sleep, man cub. Yes, man cub. Please go to sleep. Please go to sleep. Sleep, little cub. There's no use arguing anymore. No more talk till the morning. He won't be here anymore. No, yes, he will actually. Car! Holy car!
Oh, my kitty, look what happened. Oh, my kitty, I cannot believe this happened. Horrible day in America for OJ. Marie Condon, I am so happy you are here because I know this case really, really gets to you. All right, so here we go. Should start any minute now. You know me, I'm a crier, and I probably will cry. Let's see them drag this POS in. Let him hear. What he has done. He is one of those people, he makes the rules. He tells you what's up. Well, today he's going to hear what's up. Hey, Rocco, glad you're here. Kat said, will he be restrained? If I was that judge, I'd peg him. I'd put a strap on and I'd say, you're going to the big house. Bring him in. Bring him in. Mama She, thank you for the super sticker. Deep breaths. Okay, you said through the nose and out the mouth. Okay, I'm trying. And I am shocked, just like Christina Alaska, I am shocked that his uncle is still walking around. I cannot believe that nobody has gotten to him. I agree with you. Why do I have a feeling he's not coming in without a fight? This is insane. Hey, Cece, what up? Walking Dead, where are you that it's freezing? This has been a long time coming. On or about December 7th, 2019 is when Harmony was murdered by her father. He is convicted. This is not allegedly. He was convicted. This is not me throwing shade at anyone or being disrespectful to a family member or exploiting a child. There is a big difference between exploiting and advocating. And I think we know the difference around here. Stepmeth said Teardrop was driving the vehicle and Harmony was in the rear seat on the passenger side. And while Adam was driving, he turned his body and delivered sets of 3 to 4 blows with a closed fist to Harmony's face and head on 3 separate occasions over the course of a few minutes. That's like hitting a speed bag. You ever seen a speed bag in the gym? Not that I go very often. Stepmeth said, after the final blow, Teardrop said, "I think I really hurt her this time. I did something." She said Harmony began moaning, which continued for about 5 minutes before it stopped. No one checked on her or sought medical attention for her. And shortly after noon, Kayla said she and Adam discovered that Harmony was not breathing and had died. This is after they went through the drive-thru at the Burger King and had a croissant sandwich and those little hash brown things. They ate. They were living in the car. Teardrop even complained he didn't have enough ketchup, as his daughter was behind him with her spirit coming out of her body. Gotta be kidding me. Well, we know what happened after that because they had to go from place to place to place to place, keeping her contained. No pun intended. They had her in ceilings. They had her in a freezer. They had her in a refrigerator at a Cono Lodge. They had her in that cooler. They had her in a maternity bag. They had her all over. And also, Kayla stated that the shower was running on the Union Avenue apartment. She helped cut Harmony's clothes off of her. They had to defrost her. Steam was running out. And that's where he dismembered her. All he has to do is say where she's at. They complained to the maintenance man about the bathtub draining slow. They honestly had the nerve to do that. Now, don't forget the day of her murder, and it was a murder. Convicted, true. They didn't have enough ketchup. They had her in a refrigerator at the Union Street apartment. They also complained about having to move the cheese because Harmony's body was in their way. didn't have enough room in the refrigerator because of Harmony's body. All right, let's see what happens. Seems to me they're trying to get their audio together. Put his buns on camera. Well, not those. You know what I mean. Here, let's look at this real quick while they're getting ready.
To address Mr. Montgomery. Good morning, Mr. Montgomery. So, Mr. Montgomery, I was advised this morning that you preferred not to wear the leg brace and you wanted to be in the leg shackle.
Can you believe that? This is before the trial. He was like, I don't want to be shackled. I don't want to be, I prefer not to wear the leg braces or whatever you call it. I prefer not to. Then one day he was supposed to be in court and he didn't want to be strip searched. So he never showed up. They had to drag his ass out yesterday and bring him. Your own child.
Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And did you discuss with your counsel the fact that you have the right to wear the leg brace because the shackles may be evident to the jurors? Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. And so you have the right not to wear the shackles, to wear a leg brace so that the jury would not be informed that you were incarcerated. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. And you want to waive that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And have you had ample time to discuss that with your counsel?
Ample time.
Okay. And as you know, I think you know, we're at some point during this case, we're going to go on a view. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So certainly, if you were wearing the shackles at that time, again, it might be very evident to the jurors that you are incarcerated. You have no objection to that? And this is your choice?
That's correct.
Okay. Anything that the state wishes the court to inquire on within this regard any further?
I think only briefly, Your Honor, just that the defendant does have the right, if he wishes to choose to switch the leg brace at some time, that he just needs to let his counsel know that and they would bring it to the court's attention. So.
Okay.
Yes, I think there was a bit of a mistake there. He does want the leg thing for the view. It is sitting here all day in that thing that became very disconcerting during the other trial.
Okay, thank you. So thank you both for that. If you do want to switch, you can, but it may be that the jurors already see that you have the shackles on, so they may already know that you are incarcerated, and that we can't turn back the clock on. You understand that?
I'm pretty sure at trial, the jurors would have already put one and one together and known that someone on trial for murder is more than likely incarcerated. It's not about what they wore to the damn Met Gala. They already know. They already know.
Absolutely.
So if at any point you change your mind about that, let your counsel know, and we can get you the leg brace. But if, they hear the jangling of the chains there, and the jurors are aware that you are incarcerated, that's not going to be a reason to not continue to go forward with this trial. Okay.
Mm. And we patiently wait. Who wouldn't even understand? Of course. Not gonna lie, I mean, his attorney, as foolish as she looked, she gave him the best defense she possibly could. I, for one, could not have stomached it. No. No way. I couldn't have sat with that monster. I could not have looked at things like this. No, I couldn't have. You have to really believe in the law to defend someone. And don't get me wrong, there are people that really need a good defense. I mean, the deck is stacked against them. They need someone to really sort it out. This is insane. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Are they going to roll him in on a dolly? Like Hannibal Lecter? Snazzy, I wondered that too. I wonder if he will act up on purpose to be removed. He is such a coward. He's not even like we use the word narcissist all the time, like, oh, just such a narcissist, just such a narcissist. It's so overused. This is a person who is obstinate, defiant. You're not going to tell him anything. You can say, hey, we're having hamburgers for dinner. And they'll say, oh, I'd rather have tacos. Well, everything's got to be their way. Between his drug life, his thug life, everything he has done since he was a child. Everything has to be his way. Heather Mack, you're right. Once a dick, always a dick. Always his way. And I do understand that some people are sympathetic to mini meth and step meth. I'm just not. After you witness the murder of a child and you're living in a car with 2 other children, all bets are off. Well, OJ, I'm sorry that you're so tired. Lisa said, what were his parents like? Huh. Fun fact. His father, Teardrop Sr., was supposed to testify and died of an overdose a couple of days before he was going to testify. He was putting money on his books and step myths. Yeah. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. And Kelsey Smalls, she OD'd. They had a lot of questions for her. Here, I'll show you. Yep, this is Kelsey Smalls. She was living in the car with him when the authorities came to ask him where Harmony was. He wouldn't produce Harmony. They take him to jail. And a couple months later, she's dead.
Kelsey Small told police she was romantically involved with Adam Montgomery for more than a year. Kelsey told detectives she was aware Adam had 4 children with 2 women, but said Adam never mentioned Harmony Montgomery at all, and she did not have information about where she may be. During that same roadside interview, Adam Montgomery told detectives that Harmony was fine, but that he had not seen her since her biological mother came to Manchester to pick her up around Thanksgiving of 2019. Crystal Sorey is Harmony's mother, who raised the alarm about Harmony not being seen. Adam Montgomery was arrested in early January on an assault charge for hitting Harmony and remains inside Valley Street Jail. He has not requested a bail hearing. Kelsey Small is not implicated in any way in Harmony's disappearance, but there was hope she might have information from Adam that she might eventually share. Kelsey's cousin released a statement through a spokesperson that says, quote, "She was so much more than that, and I hate that one of her last connections here on earth was to him." News 9 obtained Goffstown police records that reveal Kelsey was arrested outside a sober home where she was.
Okay, it's on.
Please be seated. Council approach.
216-2022 CR20 and 216-2022 CR2372. Council identify yourselves correct.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ben Agati for the state. Chris Nelson.
Caroline Smith with the public defender.
All right, good morning. One moment, please.
Counsel identified as correct.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ben Agati for the state. Chris Thomas for the state.
Caroline Smith with the public defender. All right, good morning. One moment, please.
Sentence is delivered.
The judge had it muted. Yeah, there's no audio right now. The judge had it muted. So we'll go to WFLA, even though I don't like to, because they love to strike people. But I mean, as long as Hey JB is talking, he can kind of dictate a little bit of what's going on.
And what we will do, of course, we will then get your reaction interactively and try to feature as many of your comments as possible to see if you feel like we have justice for Harmony. We will ask you that question. Does it feel like we have justice for little Harmony Montgomery, a 5-year-old girl who was beaten and murdered for a bathroom accident in a vehicle, according to the testimony of Kayla Montgomery? So a lot more to happen here. This, again, getting a little bit of a late start, about 20 to 25 minutes behind schedule, and now an extended discussion here between attorneys on both sides and the judge. Looks like they are coming back, again, live during the breaks and live after the sentence.
Smith? Pardon? Okay, just making sure you're ready for the state to proceed.
Yes.
Okay. When you are ready, Attorney Gotti, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, as you know, the defendant has been found guilty of beating Harmony Montgomery in July of 2019, guilty of murdering Harmony Montgomery, a child under the age of 13, and then transporting and hiding and abusing her body and compacting her into smaller and smaller bags and ultimately disposing of her on March of 2020, and tampering with witnesses afterwards to ensure that this horror story that we heard at trial stayed silent. Under our law, after the second-degree assault, after what he did to her and the other crimes to hide other acts to hide his crimes, under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive for second-degree murder of a child under 13 is at least 35 years in prison. So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man? How can the minimum ever apply when he beat Harmony the night before and the morning of?
Hang on, I have to hear that again. This is ridiculous.
Montgomery in July of 2019, guilty of murdering Harmony Montgomery, a child under the age of 13, and then transporting and hiding and abusing her body and compacting her into smaller and smaller bags and ultimately disposing of her on March of 2020, and tampering with witnesses afterwards to ensure that this horror story that we heard at trial stayed silent. Under our law, after the second-degree assault, after what he did to her and the other crimes to hide other acts to hide his crimes, under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive for second-degree murder of a child under 13 is at least 35 years in prison. So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man? How can the minimum ever apply when he beat Harmony the night before and the morning of, and time again as he drove from the methadone clinic to Burger King, and he beat her to death and then covered her up to suffer and die in the car while he ate his food? The state's position is, how can the minimum ever apply when this court recognized at the last sentencing hearing that he had 15 years of convictions for, quote, some of the most violent and egregious criminal behavior, end quote, that this court had ever seen? How can the minimum ever apply when he's lied over and over again that he didn't kill his daughter and that she was safe somewhere when he was first asked by many different people, when he dumped her from the U-Haul that he had conned others into renting for him? How can the minimum ever apply when he's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to tell investigators and others where she is right now, and she can't be laid to rest? There's nothing minimal about the crimes that he's being convicted for today. The state is not going to restate everything that's put forth in the state's sentencing memorandum word for word. The state's recommendation at this time is that the defendant serve 4 to 8 years, stand committed for the crime of second-degree assault, which occurred in July of 2019, and that should then be followed by consecutive sentences of 3.5 to 7 years for his falsifying physical evidence, for what he did to Harmony's body, with a concurrent sentence of 12 months for the abuse of corpse misdemeanor, followed by another consecutive 3.5 to 7 years for witness tampering, for beating his spouse to ensure that she would stick to the story he created, followed by not less than a minimum of 45 years to life from the charge of second-degree murder. The state recognizes that this is just a recommendation. The decision today lies with the court, regardless of what the state says. But that's the state's recommendation today. However, Your Honor, if the defendant will right now tell us where he hid her body, sufficient for us to find her, if he'll tell us right now where he put that CMC bag, so that her family and the Manchester Police Department can recover her remains in the next 7 days, then the state would amend its recommendation to a minimum of 35 years to life and let the second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a course, and witness tampering sentences be served concurrent. But right now, Your Honor, if he tells us where we can recover her and we do so within the next 7 days, we will change our recommendation to 35 years. Since that offer has been rejected, Your Honor, that is yet another reason why the minimum should not apply. What I just said was not a stunt. It was not a theatrical event. I stated in closing arguments that there are moments in life where we are tested, where our failure or our success lies in whether we do the right thing at that moment in time. And time again, and about 30 seconds ago, the defendant chose again to be heartless and immoral and selfish and unapologetic, which for the purposes of you deciding his punishment and rehabilitation and his deterrence and coming up with the right sentence for him means that he has just yet shown you again in this courtroom. And for anybody else, now I was saying again, there's certainly nothing minimal about what he did to Kayla Montgomery, to abusing her into lying for him. There's simply nothing minimal about what the defendant did to Harmony and what he did afterwards. And that's why now, having just given an opportunity, we're asking you to impose nothing less than 45 to life for the sentence of homicide. You should impose more, but 45 is a bare minimum that this defendant deserves for what he did to Harmony. She is gone forever. She didn't get sick and get old and pass away. Something didn't just happen that night. He happened. She wasn't able to be surrounded by the people that loved her. And instead, when this court determines punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation, it should consider that Harmony died in pain and in fear under a blanket. And nobody deserves that, especially a 5-year-old child. And that kind of death is different and weighs in favor of more than the minimum sentence here. You can, if there was a thief here, you could order the return of stolen property, or you could order restitution. When you sentence a defendant for an assault case, the victim can receive treatment and compensation for her injuries. But in a murder case, there's nothing directly that this court can do for Harmony. She's already ultimately paid the price of the defendant's anger and cruelty and frustration. But what can be done is recognize the value of her life and the terrible way she died by giving the defendant a significant prison sentence, something more than just the minimum, and certainly not the sentence that the defendant may ask you for in a few moments. You can make sure that he's not going to hurt another child. You can do that for Harmony. And in that process, you'll also be doing justice for the people who cared about Harmony, for the many people that worked hard to hold her killer accountable. Except most of those people, several of them are in the courtroom today. Many more are out there. Some who are present here today would like a chance to address the court, Your Honor. Most notably, and I think has to be first and foremost, Your Honor, is Harmony's biological mother, Crystal Sword. She's present here today. She has prepared a victim impact statement that we have written that we can provide to the court afterwards, but we would like her to be able to speak to you and present her thoughts.
Should we do so?
Thank you. To the monster who murdered my baby. I did not kill my daughter, and I look forward to trial to refute those offensive claims. That is all you have said about my sweet daughter's life. Another lie, like all the other ones you've told. Like the cover story you told, that you dropped her off with me, knowing full well and good if you had, she would be thriving right now. Not beaten and stuffed in a CMC bag where you put her. She had a life worth living, unlike your own. And it bothered you to your core that she was nothing like you and everything like me. Beautiful inside and out, funny, smart, sassy, loving, and most of all, kind. She wasn't a coward like you, and I'll be forever grateful for that. You're a coward who has to be in control of everything and everyone around you, insecure and paranoid. The list goes on. She is none of those things. She lit up a room when she walked in. She made a mark wherever she went, and you couldn't stand it. She was an incredible big sister. She loved her brother, Jameson, to her core, and I know she loved your sons too, no matter the picture you tried to paint of her. Suffering in that back seat for 20 minutes while you and your wife fed yourselves and your other children, and you got high. 20 minutes that you could have used to save her life. Did she cry for me? Did she scream? Did she beg you to stop? I'll never know. Because like I said, You're too much of a coward to tell the truth and do one good thing for Harmony. You may have taken her physically from me, but she is always, always with me. And I will forever look for her until the end of my days. But I hope that every day and every night you are on this earth, you hear nothing but my baby's giggle. I doubt you ever heard it in this life. All she knew with you was misery and fear. I hope you hear her sweet voice telling you to stop hitting her over and over, or how she looked the very last time you saw her, broken and bruised. You were supposed to protect her, yet you did the opposite. Harmony wasn't anything to you but property that you could throw away when she was more of a burden to you than a meal ticket. Your hatred for me led you to act on your monstrous, controlling ways, and you took her because you just could not let her come home where she belongs. My love for Harmony outweighs my hatred for you, but they both gave me the strength to listen to my instincts and to help the police put you away forever. Harmony will live on through me, and you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything to stop it. I wish you nothing but pain and misery for the rest of your pathetic life, and with or without you, we will find my daughter. I always knew you weren't a good person, which is why I left you. I just never knew to what extent, but now I know you're just plain evil.
In addition, another member of Harmony's family was Miss Brittany Sorey, her aunt. She would also like to address the board.
To the most vile human on the planet, the day Harmony was born is the day that will forever feel like it was just yesterday. My sister was in labor and you were in prison. Always keeping you posted. I remember that phone call with you right after she was born and they were both in the recovery room. I was talking you down from how scared you were because you just wanted to be the best dad. And I believed in you and reminded you how good you were with my daughter, that you would be the best dad and not to worry. I couldn't even believe how wrong I actually was. You are a monster, Adam, not the monster who's in your nightmares or the ones that terrify you when you're little. You're the monster that pretends to be a daddy and then brutally abused, tortured, and beat your 5-year-old daughter to death for the accidents you caused by locking her in a room 24/7, traumatizing her and making it blatantly clear that she could not trust, count on, or come to you when she needed someone. You didn't fight for her for 4 years like you had Kayla claim on your behalf. You lied and you forged documents. You did it to have control again over something in my sister's life. You never for 1 second loved Harmony because if you did, she'd still be here today. You wanted to control her, and when you couldn't, over and over again because she reminded you of my sister, you took her from us because you didn't want anyone else to have her. More proof of the absolute coward you are. The fact that you sat in court at your gun trial, like my sister said, and tried to use Harmony for some sympathy by saying you cannot wait to refute the offensive claims that you killed your daughter and you didn't and you loved her. Jury selection day, you showed up smiling at the jurors, proving exactly how evil you are. Then tell the judge the day of opening statements that you did all but kill her and expect a bunch of people to believe yet another lie from you. Because your egotistical ignorance makes you believe you are somehow smarter than anybody. You have the nerve to claim to be a victim of the disease of addiction and how it destroyed your life and all the crybaby stories you tell. The fact is this: you are a selfish, evil, conniving, poor excuse for a human being, and I hope you sit in prison every day while she haunts you day and night until it's unbearable, because that's what you deserve. I used to call you my brother. We used to talk about everything. I've seen you break down and cry and open your heart up to me. Even when you first got Harmony, I messaged you and I told you that I would help in any way if I can, if you needed it for Harmony and wanted to be a part of her life. And just like anyone else that reached out, you blocked me. You had so many chances to change the result and let her go with people that loved her, but you didn't because you knew she would have told all about the abuse, so you killed her. If you're any type of man at all, Adam, or you ever loved her for 1 second, you would tell us where she is, so at least she can rest in peace after everything you put her mind, body, and soul through. Regardless, karma will get even because you don't destroy such a beautiful soul the way you did and not reap what you sow. So may it be.
One of the other individuals in this particular event who is not present here in the courtroom today, but is the victim of the crime, that is the victim of the crime of witness tampering, is Ms. Kayla Montgomery. She has prepared a statement. We've submitted there. We will be submitting that to the court as well. It has been provided to the defense counsel. She has asked a victim advocate to please read the statement for her.
If the victim advocate could please state her name for the record and also the Kayla Montgomery's statement.
Certainly.
My name is Amy Van Auken, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of Kayla Montgomery. Goodbye. I wanted to write a letter to you because it's the only way to tell you how I feel. I don't know about you, but I need some kind of closure. I will forever have a place in my heart for you, whether you believe me or not. You were my best friend, my husband, the person I chose to spend the rest of my life with. You are the father of our children we have together, and I'm forever grateful for having them. I will never forget the birth of our first son we have. That was one of the many best days of my life. We had just gotten married and started a family of our own. I'll never forget when your grandmother said to me, "You're the best thing that has ever happened to my grandson." I'll always remember the births of all the children we have. Also, when you stepped up to be a father to Harmony. You worked so hard to get custody of her, and it took a few years, but you got her. I won't forget the day we picked her up and brought her home. We were so excited. Then, during the summer, was when we both started to go downhill because of relapse. After 5 years of sobriety, that was the beginning of the chaos. By the time Thanksgiving came around in the year 2019, we were losing everything. My job, our place to live, and after living in a car for a few weeks, we lost that. At the same time, Harmony dies because of your anger and hitting her so many times. We didn't even know she passed away until the car died, and we had to take our kids out of the car. She didn't respond. She was lifeless. Then a couple years go by, and during those years, we had to keep quiet about her being gone. You told me to stick with the story that you dropped her off at 6 a.m. at Dunkin's, where I no longer worked at, and brought her to her mother, Crystal, so she could stay there because it was better for Harmony. Then you came and picked me up when my shift was done at 2 p.m. She wasn't in the car. She was with her mother. During those years of having to keep quiet, you started physically and mentally abusing me, accusing me of cheating on you, telling on you, and trying to kill you. The first time that you really hurt me was when you accused me of cheating and had me on the living room floor against the corner of the wall telling me if I didn't tell you that I cheated on you, that you were going to F me up. When I never cheated on you and said that I didn't, you punched me right in the face a couple of times because you said I was lying, and I wasn't. So then I said, yes, I cheated on you so you wouldn't hit me, but you still did anyway. You started getting crazy when we would get high on crack. I told you I did things that I really didn't do because you said if I told you that I did whatever you'd accuse me of, that you wouldn't hit me, and I was dumb enough to believe you. No matter what I said or did, you would hit me, punch me, spit in my face, or would have me in a chokehold and cover my mouth so I couldn't scream. You were not the person I married, not the person who loved me and who never hurt me. It's like I married my father. I never would have thought I would have to run away from you until I knew I had to take our kids and leave you. I'll never forget that day either. It was one of the hardest things for me to do. The last couple of nights after you got arrested the first time, I was sleeping with a knife because I did not know what you were going to do to me. After I found out that you got arrested, I went back to our apartment to grab a few things, and then I made the decision of not going back to live there anymore. I couldn't stay in the apartment after a year of chaos with you in there. Just all bad memories, barely any good ones. We had about 5 months total that year of living there that were good times. Other than that, nothing but bad memories. I'm so angry and hurt by you. I know you probably hate me because I had to do the right thing, but also because of all the bad. Not only did you lose your rights to our children, but so did I. Now I'm going to have to keep fighting for them to at least be back in their lives. You seem to forget you cheated, not me, and you just left the kids and I for some girl packed your stuff, and left to another state. I called you out on your BS when you're on your way to Maine, and I also called you out for being with someone else months before you left to Maine. You accused me, but you were the one cheating. The day you got arrested on January 2022, you called me and said to tell Kelsey you're sorry about her car. Yeah, right. That's all you're worried about, not your wife and children you may never see again. No apology for cheating on me and making me think I was crazy. So I got to do all I can to get back on track with my life. You caused so much hurt and pain. I don't even know why I still care about you and actually feel bad for you. Oh, maybe it's because I'm not a cold, heartless person and still have some care about you. I was in love with you once. Now I still love you because you're the father of our children. This is goodbye for now. Maybe I'll see you at the future in some point. Goodbye, Adam. And then she lists the day they started their relationship was October 8th, 2015. And the day they married was Harmony's birthday, June 4th, 2017.
Hold on, I have to interrupt. Hang on. I do understand that the sentencing is going on. I still love you because you're the father of my children. You'll never see your children right now. I'm about to shit a brick and fall into it. I'm about to shit a brick and eat it right in front of you. All these people care about is their drugs and what's in their pants. Maybe I'll see you. Maybe I'll see you. Me, 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 me. I'm so mad.
Your Honor, one family member who I've heard from yet is with regards to a very young man. This is Harmony's younger brother, Jameson. He lived with Harmony up until the age of 1, saw her as late as 18 months in his life. Both of his parents are here, Mr. Blair Miller and also Mr. Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and they have a statement they would like to present.
Your Honor, thank you so much for allowing us to speak here today. Good afternoon to you. My name is Blair Miller, and my husband Jonathan and I are here today on behalf of our son Jameson, who we adopted in 2019. He is a 7-year-old boy who came to us from foster care. Jameson and his sister Harmony were in and out of different foster homes together. They seem to be on a path of surviving their troubling relationships, their circumstances together. To understand the true impact that this loss has had on Jameson and will continue to impact him, you need to hear the stories he tells us and wants you to know. He wants everyone to know. When we first adopted Jameson, he would always tell us about Harmony. He would tell us about her beautiful blonde hair. He would tell us about her glasses. He still does. He would tell us about her bright blue eyes. He would tell us about her wonderful smile that lit up a room. He would tell us that she was there to help him. Jameson has constantly asked us, where's Harmony? Recently, he once was struggling to go to bed. He looked off in the shadows of his closet and said, is that Harmony there, looking back at me? These are no questions for a little boy to be asking. He no longer can hold on to that hope. Since learning about the death of innocent and beautiful Harmony, Jameson has suffered. Just a few weeks ago in school, his teacher asked him to draw a picture of his family. He drew a picture of his 2 dogs, his 2 brothers, his 2 dads, but then he put a heart above all of us, and inside that heart was the letter H. He said that was Harmony looking down on us. Jameson constantly asks us, who took my sister away? Adam, you took away his best friend, his sister. You introduced murder into his life and forever created a void that can never be filled. We will never have the right answers for him on this and can only tell him Harmony is an angel now. Jameson will grow up forever wondering how this happened, how his sister, who looked over him in foster care, didn't have anyone looking over her. You chose, Adam, to take our little boy's sister away. You don't ever deserve another choice in a free society. Your Honor, we are asking you to impose the maximum sentence.
Your Honor, this courtroom, and especially Adam, I'm Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and I'm the proud adopted dad of Jameson Miller, the proud young brother of Harmony. Harmony is the reason that we're all here today. Harmony, the child Adam that you murdered, you introduced a nightmare into our son. You introduced evil of this world to him. You have manipulated the criminal justice system until now, and trying to explain that to our 7-year-old son is hard. Before Jameson knew of Harmony's tragic fate, he would go to the door when the doorbell rung, and he would say, maybe she's found me. He would search a park, he would look at school, and if there was any girl that had blonde hair and glasses, he would go up to them and say, are you Harmony? I'll never forget the day that we told Jameson that Harmony was in heaven. He's a very active kid. And that day, he just stopped and he held us and he said, no, I need my big sister. Why? Why did this happen? These are questions that Jameson has had and continues to ask. Daddy and Dada, what happened to my sister? Why did she die? Why would anyone hurt her? How about her glasses? Are they okay? My God, how will we ever help him process this horrible and brutal details of his big sister? Adam, you have to know you did that. As we celebrated Jameson's birthday in 2019 with the Mickey and Minnie Mouse theme, we had Mickey Mouse there. It's a Disney theme that he shares with his big sister and his mom. He wanted to save a gift from her that day, made from his Nana. It was a Minnie Mouse pillow, but instead, you were beating her to death. That was the same day. If Jameson was old enough to speak to this court today, he would want you to know the void that you left in his heart that can never be filled. Adam, he would plead with you to please tell us where she is. Let him have a place to go and remember his sister, please. He remembers her feeding him. He remembers when they would be at his foster home when she was there, that they would play in the park together. He remembers her glasses. He remembers how proud she was. How do we tell our 7-year-old that you murdered his sister, his protector, his best friend, and you showed no remorse? I wish they could be happy together today. Jameson asked, is she unhappy in heaven? If she can see him, and if we can visit her, why would anyone hurt her? That's what you've done to her son when you beat his sister to death. In our family, we really believe in love and forgiveness. I'm just not sure how to teach our son how to forgive the monster that murdered his sister. We as a family are leaning on God for that. Jameson also knows about the helpers. He knows about this court. He knows about the jury. He knows about the police from the local to federal. He knows about this community. We've told him these were the people that helped his sister when she was hurting. I'd like to share with you a few words that Jameson, as we were talking to him, because he wanted to know, where are you guys going? What are you doing? And I said, we're going to speak for your sister and we're going to tell everyone how important she was to you. And this is what he said. Tell everyone my name is Jameson. I'm 7 years old. My sister's Harmony. I love Harmony. I miss her. I hope I get to see her again. My sister had beautiful blue eyes and we smile alike. I liked having fun with her on the playground. She gave me a broken Elmo toy that was hers. I still have that, but I have the Minnie Mouse pillow and a new Elmo that's not broken. I keep it in my closet for her. I'm really sad she's an angel. I miss her. She was my best friend. I hope she can see me playing basketball, being silly with my brothers. And I wish I could bring Harmony to my school to meet my friends and my teacher. She loves the color purple and Minnie Mouse. I made a heart for her in purple and red with mirrors so I can look for her in heaven. I hope she sees me. The red is for my heart and the purple is for her. I love my sister. I miss her. I hope she's eating M&Ms in heaven. I hope her glasses are safe and not broken. And I miss you, and I will always love you, big sister. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, finally, with us today is Harmony's foster mother, Michelle Rafferty. Harmony was alive for 66 months in this world. And for 44 of those months, she was with the Raffertys, Michelle and her husband, Tim. They've both prepared a statement as well and would like to speak with you today.
Your Honor, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here today. This is truly the hardest thing I have ever had to do. My name is Michelle Rafferty, and along with my husband and my 5 children, we have the privilege of being Harmony's foster family. We shared our hearts, our home, and our life with her, and she filled our lives with joy and laughter. We lost a daughter, and my children lost their sister. We grieve for her every day because we thought we'd always see her again. Harmony was full of life and always happy. We jokingly told her that she leaves a sparkle wherever she goes. She loved to be in the middle of everything that was going on, and she never missed a beat. Harmony always had 2 mummies, me and Crystal, but only had one daddy, and that was my husband, Tim. I am beyond grateful Harmony had the relationship with a loving daddy and knew what that relationship should look like. She loved being a sister and had an amazing bond with our youngest daughter. And when our second daughter had her baby, she was delighted to be an auntie. Harmony was a friend to everyone, but she also had a best friend named Dominic. She loved going to church and loved going to school. She loved Minnie Mouse, playing outside, playing dress up, playing house, and loved to cuddle. She had a large community that she loved, and they loved her. She was kind and compassionate and always willing to share, even her Oreo cookies and favorite doll stroller. Since everything came to light, I have had trouble sleeping and concentrating. We had to explain to our children things that we never wanted them to hear and explain to them why a father who was supposed to love and protect her was being arrested for murder. Your Honor, I'm asking you to give Adam the fullest sentence. Adam is hateful and selfish and continues to be so by not telling us where her body is. Adam knew he could have brought Harmony back to us. He had options, but always chose himself each time. He never put Harmony first. There were consequences for his actions, and he will have to live with them the rest of his life. Our family is strong and beginning to heal by the grace of God. We know Harmony is safe in the arms of Jesus, never to be hurt again. So despite the evil brought to light in this trial, we will continue to move forward in love because love wins. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, in addition to those statements, the state is asking you to consider not only all of the details and the facts that you heard during trial, and not only as you would for any defendant, their criminal history, of which is laid out there and which this court is already well aware of. But we are also asking the court to take into account 2 additional charges which are still pending. Firearm that was belonging and was owned by a Mr. Ewell, and also a high-point handgun. These are 2 charged but not yet adjudicated offenses that can be considered by the court when it comes to sentencing. We did not ask you to take the defendant's murder of his daughter into account at the last sentencing for the other firearms, given that it had occurred before her death. But these 2 not yet tried armed career criminal charges, offenses for weapons belonging to Mr. Ewell, and the high-point handgun should be considered to show that the minimum does not apply to this man. The court is already aware of the defendant's statements to many other people whether many other people through many different facets of his life with regards to being asked where his daughter was and for him to lie to them. This was subject to many different interpretations. The court has discussed this on different different times, in different hearings. With regards to those events and with regards also to the gun crimes that I speak of, Mr. Yule's firearm and the high point handgun, we feel that the state has already shown the requisite level of certainty that the defendant has done these crimes. He's been indicted by the grand jury. We've discussed them. Parts of the evidence that support them have already been presented to the court. But we have also asked for Detective John Dunleavy to be present from the Manchester Police Department, who can provide additional information if the court so chooses to hear that. So at this point, I would leave it up to the court's discretion if and when the court should be considering those two charges as part of coming up with the appropriate sentence for the defendant today. But he is here in the courtroom.
All right, thank you. I don't feel that I need to hear from him at this juncture. If the court feels it necessary to hear from him, I will do so later. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. One of the things that you saw during trial were the many different ways in which the defendant tried to conceal his crime, not just physically, but also with false statements and lies to others. Lies as to where she was, as to what had occurred, where it had occurred in the car, where he was at the time. Even lies, as you heard from some witnesses, as to whether or not he loved or cared for Harmony in the first place. You heard and saw the defendant try to sell his lies to anybody that would listen. And why does that matter? Because it's one thing to deny the charges that the state then can hold the state accountable to bring forth proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But it's another one to actively lie and deceive and blame others. And a defendant who does that, like this defendant did, is different and is deserving of more than the minimum punishment. You've even heard yourself how the defendant tried over and over again to get Kayla Montgomery to lie for him. The testimony we heard at trial included the verbal threats to her, beating her, photographs that we saw of her black eyes, testimony from other independent witnesses of him either hurting her or her running away, being injured, or grabbing a cell phone out of her hands and manipulating her even months later to get rid of telephones that had evidence of the crimes on them. You've seen those bruises. You've heard those stories from independent eyewitnesses. That was not just an attack on her. That was an attack on our system of justice. And to hold him accountable for that independently, consecutively, to the actual underlying crime of the homicide and the second-degree assault from before. As you've seen in this case, if we don't do that, if we don't hold people accountable for those actions afterwards, then the criminal justice system is failing because it allows defendants everywhere under the concept of general deterrence to think that they can tamper with witnesses and destroy evidence. And if they're caught, well, it'll just be subsumed by the underlying crime. That's another reason why the more than the minimum sentence is necessary. And finally, I'm not going to go into full detail on it, Your Honor, but you've seen in the state sentencing memorandum, there are 3 cases that are on point. And when looking for comparison here, and those are State versus Caitlin Marin, State versus Mark Heath, and State versus Chad Evans, all cited in our sentencing memorandum. In those matters involved individuals who were convicted of reckless second-degree murder for injuring children. And all 3 of those individuals, either immediately after trial or at sentence review, all had sentences that were in their 40s. And all 3 of those people didn't have the criminal history that this defendant has. And all 3 of them didn't do afterwards to their victims and what they did to their bodies, what he did to Harmony. So in the state's mind, how can the defendant here get anything less for that? His behavior is worse. When we look at that, if and when he should ask for sentence review after today, if they look at that, we don't feel that there's any way that they could equate that his behavior was less than theirs or that his punishment should be less than theirs. There's nothing about this little girl's death or her suffering or what her father did afterwards that can ever be classified as minimal. He is still determined 5 years later that she have no peace, no justice, no rest. So the state is asking you to do what justice requires, and that's nothing less than the state's recommended sentence. Harmony deserves it. Her family deserves it. The people of the state deserve it. And definitely, this defendant deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'd like to start reading from State versus Willie at 163 New Hampshire 532. We held that just as it is unconstitutional to increase a defendant's punishment because he refuses to admit guilt, so too is it unconstitutional for a court to draw an adverse inference of lack of remorse from a defendant's silence at sentencing. Because the only affirmative way for a defendant who maintains his innocence through the criminal process to express remorse at sentencing is to forgo his right to remain silent. Using a defendant's silence at sentencing to infer that he lacks remorse generally violates the defendant's constitutional privilege against self-incrimination. The state said that their offer to reduce or offer a reduced sentence of 35 years if Adam Montgomery took particular action within the next 7 days, and his reaction to that reflected heartless, immoral, no remorse. You can imagine, anybody can, that somebody walking into a sentencing hearing for something where he maintains his innocence that he did not do would be a difficult situation. That person would be assisted by his counsel, who would understand that being vilified for something that you didn't do would be difficult, who would understand that when people are trying to throw him away forever for something that you didn't do would be difficult in the courtroom. The state was doing a stunt. They were seeking a reaction today from Adam Montgomery in the courtroom by their stunt for something that they said, give us 7 days. And then Mr. Montgomery, acting appropriate with his counsel's representation, was called heartless, immoral, and no remorse. Mr. Montgomery does not have to express remorse here for something where he maintains his innocence. It would violate his constitutional rights against self-incrimination. And talk a little bit about the use of priors as argued in the state's memorandum to elevate what is a sentence as a mandatory minimum that is extraordinarily high. And it is high because anytime a child dies, an innocent child dies, deserves a strong punishment. And the legislature has spoken with a mandatory minimum of that punishment. The lack of rehabilitation is what the priors are put on for. I don't think anybody can permit what another person would be like after 35 years of incarceration. To assume the lack of rehabilitation for prior records that occurred from the time that Mr. Montgomery was quite young, that many, fueled by drug and drug addiction that was introduced to his life by some of the very witnesses, family members, wives, who participated in maintaining his addiction and in a lot of the conduct that he did in the prior record. He is worthy of rehabilitation, especially after what would be the mandatory minimum under this sentence. The use of the remaining charges also are inappropriate here. You did not consider the charge of homicide at his prior sentencing on the armed career criminal charges that he faced May a year ago. But you did consider the armed criminal charges, or at least you didn't indicate that you didn't. And the state certainly argued that they should be considered as well. All of that conduct occurred in a relatively short time period. And while we dispute the probable cause, even the law says that you can consider the grand jury indictment as probable cause, which I think is completely inappropriate, but that is the law. However, his sentences on armed career criminal took into account both his prior and his subsequent gun charges. He's serving a sentence currently of what comes to be about 32, because he got 15 as a minimum on one, 15 as a minimum on another. The 5 years of the 7-year minimum on the final charge that you sentenced him on, you suspended 2 years. Didn't even totally give him the max on that, but certainly increased his sentence in your evaluation of his prior conduct, as well as the pending gun charges. Another issue I need to address, and I'm afraid we only addressed part of it in chambers, my fault. The names of the no contact order I don't have, so we don't have a position on that as far as the names. However, since the state has asked for an incarcerated sentence on each of the charges, I don't believe a no contact order can be issued on the charges under interpretation of current law. However, I will say that the names will be provided to Adam, and I can assure this court that Adam will not seek any contact with the Sorrell family. Sorry, family. So, what do you do for sentencing Adam Montgomery? Adam Montgomery does not dispute the time sought by the state for abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. The state has requested maximum sentences on that consecutive, and Adam does understand that it in fact affected the investigation and that behavior affects justice in the court system. And he does not dispute the sentences requested by the state on that. However, while he maintains his innocence, he also knows that you will be sentencing him on the other charges because he has been convicted, and any other action he takes will have to be after sentencing. So as to the other charges, while he maintains his innocence on each of them, he can't offer a sentence because no sentence would be fair for him to say that they would be fair when he is maintaining his innocence and he did not commit those charges. So he can't offer you something that's appropriate for them, but he would request that you take into account his objections to the memorandum, and especially his silence here at sentencing, as being an appropriate position to take when he is asserting his innocence. We request that the court issue a sentence that is less than what the state has asked, and that it make the remaining charges concurrent with abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. Adam Montgomery did not kill his daughter, but when he discovered his daughter's death, he broke, and he did inexplicable things. Even he can't explain his actions, but eventually he pulled it together, and he was able to say goodbye to his daughter, and that's what he did. If I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
Actually. My co-counsel has reminded me of something, and again, this was something that was not in the sentencing memorandum, and it was last minute, and it is the stunt that was pulled by the state, and it is that plea offers, responses, negotiations are inadmissible, and I think that they are inadmissible for any purpose, including sentencing. Certainly, I know in other cases, if I was to say the state offered something pretrial and now they're seeking twice that, the state would shut me down under that rule. 410? 410. So I think that entire stunt should be stricken from the record as well.
Briefly, Your Honor, I made no such comment about plea offers that were made prior to trial in any way, shape, or form. When I called the defendant heartless, immoral, selfish, and unapologetic, and in doing so, it's about the two crimes that he has admitted that he has done. It's the falsifying physical evidence and it's the abuse of corpse, which he admitted and even told the jury that they could find him guilty of. Those are the ones relating to the placement of the body. There's no reason to hold on to that piece of information with regards to that. The statement is not offering anything because this completely lies within the hands of the court. The statement is to make the change of what the state's recommendation would be. It's not an offer of a guaranteed sentence in any way, shape, or form. And again, it's on those charges, the one where he does not maintain his innocence anymore, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. I think just separately, Your Honor, with regards to the victims that the state is asking for the no contact order, that would include Crystal Sorey and her family, Sorey. That would also include the Miller family, Your Honor, and that would be Harmony's brother's family, and as well as the Rafferty family. I can provide those spellings to the court monitor afterwards. I think those are the only additional things that the state wants to add.
Attorney Gotti, what do you say to the state v. Toll issue that's raised by the defense about the no contact order on stand committed sentences, where all of the sentences that you're asking for in this case are stand committed, but you're also asking for the no contact provision?
Your Honor, I think with regards to that, rather than to prolong this particular hearing, the state would then also ask for a $5,000 fine on each felony for that to be suspended for the period so that the no contact order can be obeyed during that time period. And if he violates the no contact order, then that could be imposed.
Suspended for what period?
I would say suspended for a period of, well, on the 2 Class B misdemeanors, I would say suspended for at least a period of 7 years upon the beginning of that serving of that sentence. And for the charge of second-degree murder, I would say beginning on for a 20-year time period, beginning when he starts serving that sentence.
Do you want to address that, Attorney Smith? I'm just thinking about that for a moment. I mean, Attorney Gotti, on that, the consequence of a violation of the order would be the imposition of the fine.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
For clarity in sentencing, I think 5,000 is illegal for any one of those charges, although certainly combinations of certain charges can equal that amount. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, because as I said, with regard to the family, Crystal Sorey and her family, Mr. Montgomery will not be reaching out to any of them.
All right, thank you. Counsel, approach for just a minute.
Woo! I don't even know what to say. I cannot believe they are wheeling and dealing during sentencing. This should have already been decided, but I don't know how they do it in New Hampshire. Amanda said, is that Elaine from the Depp trial? You would think. And her haircut looks like an inverted penis. I cannot believe it. And I don't want to hear any more about Crystal Sorey or Kayla Montgomery. Those two should have had zero right to speak. Zero right to speak. And you can already see Teardrop's already getting prison tats. You've got to be kidding me. I can't stand them. And she's wearing the same damn suit that she wore to the trial. All she would do was wear the same skirt, change her depends, and then she would just change her jacket. You got to be kidding me.
All right, nothing further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to take a 15-minute recess so I can consider all of the information and statements that have been provided, and then I'll come back and announce my sentence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, 15 minutes while she thinks about it. I have a feeling she's been thinking for a while. Let's do a poll, please. Like Madam Secretary said, how long do you think he will get in lockup? Actually, I'm going to put an official poll up because we're very official around here. Watch me go. How long do you think? All right, do y'all see the poll? Well, let's just watch Teardrop's interrogation.
Care about your daughter? I care about all my kids, right? But the one I care the most about is your daughter, Harmony. And we have people around the clock calling into us, giving us tips from all over the country because they care too to try to find where she is. My only goal, which I told you the other day, is to make sure that she's safe. I don't want you to get tied into something if you didn't do anything wrong. My job is not to jam somebody up for something that they didn't do wrong. And if you can tell me that you didn't do anything.
Huh. My husband speaks like that. My husband speaks like that. I don't want to jam you up.
Anything wrong, then I want to believe you because, dude, I've met you now a few times. I helped you out when you were at the hospital when you were having a fucking meltdown. You told me about your kids. I sat there and I talked to you. Dude, I could have fucking tased you right there.
Okay, the officer has said the F-bomb 3 times. So I do not want to hear anyone come after me saying, I don't like the F word. I don't like the F word. Brooks, there's too many F words. This is how you talk to scum. This is how you talk to human scum. You have to speak to them in scum language. They don't speak English. Snazzy, thank you for the super sticker. If it wasn't for the foster mom, the adoptive dad's little brother, Harmony, wouldn't have been represented by anyone that truly loved her. Exactly. You are right on the money.
Right. But the one I care the most about is your daughter, Harmony. And we have people around the clock calling into us, giving us tips from all over the country because they care too to try to find where she is. My only goal, which I told you the other day, is to make sure that she's safe. I don't want you to get tied into something if you didn't do anything wrong. My job is not to jam somebody up for something that they didn't do wrong. And if you can tell me that you didn't do anything wrong, then I want to believe you because, dude, I've met you now a few times. I helped you out when you were at the hospital when you were having a fucking meltdown. You told me about your kids. I sat there and I talked to you. Dude, I could have fucking tased you right there, and I didn't do that because I saw deep down inside that you were hurting and that I wanted to help you. Right now, all I'm trying to do is help your daughter. I want to bring her home, and I can't do that without your help. Dude, I can't do that without your help. Help, hey, can you look at me? Help me, please. That's all I'm asking for. I can't sleep until I know that she's okay. And I know that you know where she is or what happened to her, but I can't do it without your help. And if you don't want to look like this fucking animal, because I don't think you are. Not that I don't think you are, I know you aren't. But I can only do so much for you, man.
I know.
I'm begging you to help me. Because as much as you're hurting inside, I'm also hurting inside. And I don't know how you can sleep at night because I'm sure it's eating the shit out of you. Am I wrong?
No, see, me and Pops, I know I'm not fucking seeing my wife, I'm not seeing my kids, you guys are just playing games, like this is just...
Dude, but I'm not trying...
I'm not trying to play games.
Good. Like,
telling my wife and kids that I'm not allowed to see my wife and kids, like...
But dude, that was a mistake from some court paperwork that hadn't been updated. So like I said, I apologize for that.
But it was updated. DCYF told them.
No. This was some like DV paperwork I'm talking about.
But I'm talking about DCYF already told us multiple times that there was no contact order.
Maybe through DCYF, but
it could have been through DCYF.
Yeah.
So let's fucking forget about it. You've seen your kid, you've seen your wife and kids over the last how many days, right?
I haven't seen them in the last I haven't seen my kids in the last 2 days, 3 days.
Okay. You're always going to be their father, Declan, Seamus, and then Sierra, right? Kiera. And then there's Harmony.
I got nothing else to say. That's it. That's it, guys. I got nothing else to say.
Can you make me a promise? Like man to man? Can you tell me that she's alive?
You're gonna play the same word games that you played with me the other day.
It's not word games.
I got nothing.
Because we care, man. We want to know.
This isn't gonna go anywhere. Like this isn't gonna stop. So
No, no, it's not.
So
So
either get on the bus now or get run over.
I got nothing else to say.
Why is it you have so much trouble talking about Harmony?
Guys, I got nothing else to say. I want a lawyer with me.
Well, we just copy this ex parte or it's a petition from DCYF. You can read it later sometime. I'll put it in your property. It's basically the same thing you got the other day. It's just a little more detailed that we handed you. It does say that you're ordered to help us locate Harmony Butte unless you're not going to do that.
I'm just telling you guys I want a lawyer.
It is 9:25.
No remorse, no empathy, no self-realization, nothing. Canadian Cookie said, like Brooks said, there's no other way to talk to this scumbag. Baby kisses. In the Bible, it talks about people that hurt children. Put a millstone around their neck. Who didn't fail her? The foster parents, their hands were tied. Jameson's adoptive parents, their hands were tied. But in each of the families, Crystal Sorey's family, and the nerve of her and her sister to pull up in there acting like they care was crazy. Kayla's family, I hate these families that act like someone just brought a stray along and they don't have to take care of them or have to care about them. It's ridiculous. Teardrop's family, this was very interesting. Listen to this guy. What will happen to Adam in prison? Now, mind you, this was made before old Teardrop, well, before today.
On trial for killing his own daughter. Now, in case you're not familiar with this case or who this person is, this guy is from New Hampshire. And this is literally the definition of when the system fails. This is literally when the children's voice are never heard until it's too late. And this shit happens too many times. So before I give you a rundown of exactly what's going to happen to him in prison, to this piece of shit, let me give you a rundown of this case. So 2014, a beautiful baby girl is born, Harmony. You know, unfortunately, the one thing in life you can't do wrong is be a parent. You could fuck up, rebuild, go bankrupt, rebuild, get arrested, get out, rebuild, but you can't fuck up at being a parent. So she's born, and her biological mother and her biological father are both drug addicts. One is in prison and one is struggling just to stay sober. So she keeps losing her baby, the mother of Harmony, and it goes into foster care, comes back to her, goes into foster care. So eventually the baby gets adopted and the family's trying to fully adopt it. Well, the piece of shit Adam gets out of prison and files to get full custody. So now in the beginning, you know, he's seeing his daughter for about 5 months in 2017, 18, and eventually he just never shows his face again. He eventually gets back in his daughter's life and ends up getting full custody. The mom's still on dope, and at that time he was clean. So now he's living with her, his girl, and his other 2 kids he has from another woman. So basically his daughter's half brothers and sisters. So at this time, he has an uncle there, and an uncle makes an anonymous report saying that, yo, man, he's beating the shit out of her. He's putting her in timeout so long that she's peeing herself. And now, mind you, this girl is only 5 years old, saying she's scrubbing the bathroom with her toothbrush. I mean, just sick shit that you don't ever do to any kid, let alone your own kid. So around 2017, a FaceTime call with the mom, the biological mother, and Adam, the biological father, you know, basically was kind of sketchy. Like, she could feel that her daughter was kind of being coached, and it would pause, and she could just see the fear. And she just had a gut feeling that something wasn't right. So he disappears. DCF comes to the house about to complain about her having a black eye and all the mistreatment. Nobody does shit. He says, I was one of the other kids fucking around. She's straight. Mind you, at this time, they're living off of a generator in that house. And then they eventually get kicked out the house, and he's got him, his girl, and 3 kids living out of a regular car, like a regular sedan. Like I said, times get hard, but you sacrifice it all for your kid. It doesn't matter if you ain't gonna eat. They need to be somewhere safe, a bed, healthy, and protected. So the mom just has a feeling something wasn't right with that call. And for 2 years, she can't find her daughter. So she keeps making complaints with, Department of Children's and Family and everything in New Hampshire, the cops, just constantly making complaint after complaint. And they're basically telling her, you don't have custody. You have to file in the courts, just giving her the runaround. And it took about 10 files and grievances for them to finally do a little bit of investigation. They go to Adam and say, where's your daughter at? Oh, he's with the mom. So nobody thought it was suspicious that, hey, the mom is saying the daughter isn't with her, and now he's not with her either. And he's saying that the daughter's with her, the one that's looking for her daughter. I mean, come on. I mean, y'all could put 2 and 2 together. Something ain't right, especially with the history they have. But instead, more time goes by, and finally, she writes to the mayor and says, this shit is fucked up. I'm going to go public with this. And within like a month, they're doing a full-on investigation looking for the girl. So after bid, but instead what they're having them do is 30 years, then 8 years, and 10 years, because they don't want this motherfucker to ever get out, and they want to keep him where they can find him during his trial. So shit gets real now. They know that he did some foul ass shit, but 2 years have gone by, right? And that's a long time for a little child to be missing. I mean, come on, man. That's just, I can't go 2 minutes without thinking about my son, let alone someone talking about 2 years. So his girlfriend at the time, or his wife, whatever you want to call her, the mother of his other 2 kids, says that basically what happened was she had an accident in the car and he beat his daughter to death. And they would basically keep her in the car, and then as she started to decompose, they would put her in a duffel bag and put her in like a cooler, a freezer, and slowly start to chop up little pieces of the body. It's a rough one, guys. They even hid her behind some drywall. Neighbors were complaining about the smell. Long story short, they chopped her up and nobody knows where she is. And they did it over the course of 2 years. So fast forward, the man's already in prison while he's facing this murder trial. Now, I know motherfuckers like him. Piece of shit, demonic cowards. See, the worst part about it is he plays tough guy. He likes to play that gangster role, but that's a wrap. You killed your own child, homie. It's a wrap. You get no respect. All that fake gangster shit, all those tough guy tattoos, all that tough talk, all those teardrops. Oh, everybody sees through that shit now. You beat a little girl to death and then hid her body, your own flesh and blood, a baby girl. So a guy like that goes into prison and he still tries to act hard. He still tries to keep that front on. But one thing about it, doing my research on this case, this man's going to get hit up immediately. Obviously, during the trial and during everything to keep him safe. That's just how it goes, because they need to get justice for all the victims, for Harmony. But once that's over, they're not trying to extort this man. They're not trying to give him slow pain. It's on site. Every single day of his life, the COs, the convicts, the fucking GED teachers, everybody wants to get at him. And his mask has been removed. He's so used to playing the tough guy, the gangster, and trying to fit in with a crowd. But the true him has been revealed. And he is so embarrassed. He's so humiliated. And that's the best thing you can do to a coward like that. A piece of shit child killer is show the world who they are. I mean, they're going to poison his tray. I mean, they're going to shit in his food. Every chance they get, hit him with dirty needles, slice him across the face. I mean, open the door, let somebody come in there and just beat his face in, feet, hands. I mean, every chance they get. And those little gang tattoos he have, oh, it's mandatory that they're going to cut those off his fucking throat. I promise you. The second any OG sees where he's at and is able to make a call on it, those tattoos are coming off from ASAP, from that organization that he's trying to represent and be tough with. Eventually, he's either going to take his own life or someone's going to cut his throat in the middle of the night, because it's a type of crime It doesn't matter your race, your religion. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you on, CO, convict, whatever it may be, gang, organization. You do this to a little girl, you did this to your own daughter and try to play tough and try to represent an organization. Oh no, they all come together and cut your fucking throat out. That's what his future is. They'll let him be safe until he gets found guilty. Then within about a year or two, his throat's getting cut. Now, this is what happens when the system fails you. Time and time again, you see the parents taking matters into their own hands because the system fails you. They lie, they manipulate and shut you down. Stay out, stay free. Us.
Woo! Woo! Exotic Prairie said, care about herself. Kayla only talked about Adam cheating on her in her statement. That's it. That's all she cared about. My goodness. All right, so it was mentioned about the millstone. We're going to go through this real quick. When Jesus told everyone, that you'd be better off tying a millstone around your neck and jumping as opposed to hurting any of these little ones.
Praise the Lord. That sun beaming. About to get out of here. I got an ortho appointment at the VA and a recheck on my shoulder. But just to piggyback what I spoke on earlier about lying and liars and purposely lying on people in a vain attempt, not veil, to destroy them, to hurt them. The Bible says it'd be better if you tied a millstone around your neck and cast yourself into the sea than to offend one of my little ones. This is our Father in heaven speaking, the Father of the believer and the creator of us all. He's saying it'd be better if you tied a transmission around your neck and cast yourself into the Colorado River than to offend. It doesn't say lie on, hurt, stab, murder. It says to offend. So when you offend a child of God, not a man or woman of God, because we're a man or woman biologically, we're a child spiritually in accordance to our Father in heaven. What bothers me is the hurt, the damage you do to the person who may have this person high in their mind and heart, deep in their mind and heart, care about this person as a friend, a family member, a stranger, or loved one. The demise, the downtrodden, the depression, the discomfort you've caused, and hurting the person that you lied to, not the person you lied on because they didn't hear the lie, but to lie to that said person and causing the pain.
Manifest the extreme indifference.
Get where I'm going with that paraphrase job. Let's see. Julia says, protect the public. Life in prison, no parole. I'll be very, very much curious as to right in our
The 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the life that she was. The 5-year-old girl, your own daughter.
right in our post-hearing coverage here on stream as we spotlight your reaction, spotlight your opinions. And then also too, we have another featured question that we are asking as to how you feel about the deal that was offered to Adam Montgomery. Looks like we might be back, folks. Again, our coverage continues after the sentence is read.
crimes that you have committed and the harm that you have caused cannot be overstated. You took a human life, and you did so in the most callous and heartless of ways. You robbed a 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the life that she was to lead. You stole from your sons a sister. You took a daughter from her mother. You were convicted of reckless second-degree murder. Reckless in this context does not mean something that was an accident. It is defined under law as something that manifests the extreme indifference to a human life. Your extreme indifference to the value of the human life is seen in so many of your actions in this case. In 2019, you beat Harmony. In the words of your uncle, her eye was fully black and blue like a raccoon eye, is what he said. Your words, when asked, were, quote, "I bashed her around the effing house." And then you hid her from the view of others, and you kept her from those that came to help her. Then, on top of that, you threatened, abused, and beat your wife to keep her silent. Your criminal history similarly reflects your extreme indifference to the value of human life. Your actions having taken both a physical and emotional toll on so many. In 2008, you were convicted of criminal threatening after pointing a knife at a 15-year-old girl. In 2010, you were convicted of armed robbery and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon in a home invasion incident in which it was reported that you held up a woman at gunpoint, terrorizing her to the point that she lost control of her bodily functions. In 2009, you were convicted of first-degree assault for stabbing another person. In 2014, you were convicted of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and larceny in a case in which it was reported that you shot a man in the face. In 2019, you were convicted of 2 counts of armed career criminal, 2 counts of theft, and 2 counts of receiving stolen property, all of the charges stemming from the thefts of firearms, guns, exchanges of guns for drugs and money. The court has to consider 3 primary goals of sentencing: punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. The focus today is on your convictions in this case: second-degree murder, falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, abuse of a corpse, and second-degree assault. But the prior convictions are important, and they're important as well as each of them reflects not just your extensive criminal conduct, but each of them represents an opportunity after sentencing for you to have changed the trajectory of your life, to change how you were treating other people. But you were either unwilling or unable to do so. And as a result, at this point, the court has the responsibility to impose a sentence that not only punishes you harshly for the crimes that you have committed, but considers deterrence, that is, how to keep you from hurting others. In light of the egregious nature of the crimes of which you have been convicted in this case, and taking into consideration your extremely violent criminal history, the court finds the only way to do this is to keep you off the streets. To the extent you seek to rehabilitate yourself, that will have to happen behind the prison walls, as well as consecutive to docket 216-2022 CR 577, which are the sentences that you're currently serving. Additionally, you're to participate meaningfully and complete any counseling, treatment, or education programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation, parole. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of this sentence. This is also consecutive to the second-degree assault charge in the docket ending in 20. That is charge ID 1937947C. Do you have any questions about that sentence?
Nope.
On charge ID 2027113C, falsifying physical evidence. On this charge, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor 3.5 years. This sentence is stand committed, consecutive to all of the other charges that I'm about to read you, as well as consecutive to the second-degree assault charge in the docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving.
You do have the obligation, as with the other sentences, to meaningfully participate in programming as directed by the correctional authority or probation. Parole, you're ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of that sentence. On the charge of tampering with witnesses and informants, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. Again, this sentence is consecutive to the additional sentences that I've read to you that I'm reading to you in this case, as well as docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You have the same obligations for participation in programming, and law enforcement may return evidence to its rightful owner. On the abuse of corpse charge, on this charge, you are sentenced to the maximum penalty of 12 months at the House of Correction. All of this sentence is suspended for 25 years. If it were to be imposed, it would be consecutive to the sentences that I read to you. And on this charge, you will also have the provision of a no contact order, and that is no contact with the Sorey family, the Miller family, and the Rafferty family. That sentence is also consecutive were it to be imposed to all of the other sentences in this case and the sentence you're currently serving. On the second degree assault charge ID 1937947C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 8 years nor less than 4 years. This sentence is consecutive to the sentences in docket 216-2022 CR 2372. This is charge ID 1937947C. On this charge, you have the additional requirement, as you have in the other cases, to meaningfully participate in programming. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner, and you're obligated to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of the sentence. Do you have any question about those sentences?
No, I do not.
All right, before you go, counsel, approach, please.
No, I do not. The response from Adam Montgomery in relation to any questions regarding the sentence that was just handed down by the judge, 45 years to life, plus consecutive prison sentences for the other charges in this case, also to be served consecutively with the previous assault charges. Adam Montgomery going to jail, going to prison for a long time.
Are imposed in light of the extended period of incarceration. The court will also make the final.
Well, wow. A lifetime of hurt, anguish, disgusting behavior. He'll be in prison for the rest of his life. He will never get out. It will never happen. It can't happen. They're not concurrent, they're consecutive. He's not going to live to be the age of Moses. And he will have to sit and sit and sit and think about what he did. Hang on, Big T, were you listening with us? What do you mean he'll be out soon? He won't be out soon. No. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be right there. He might move to another prison. He might get another jail cell. But he's not going anywhere. He is off the streets. And In my opinion, it's too little, too late, because all the havoc he caused in Massachusetts, it should have been taken care of then. Not now, but then. And those gun charges are piddly compared to what he did to Harmony. He will never be a free man unless he pulls some sort of Shawshank redemption. He's not going anywhere. But again, it's too little, too late for me. Let's take a minute to remember Harmony. This has definitely been one of the hardest cases we have ever spoke about on this channel. And look at me being a ball baby up here. The fact that you all have stuck around for 2+ years to the end means the world. Harmony deserves a voice. And even if it's in a tiny little living room like this one, it's her voice. She deserves it. I think about when Crystal Sorey was bragging about herself, saying, "Oh, I've been looking. And Salt and Cayenne said, Jameson brought awareness to Harmony. He was the one crying for her. Her mother wasn't crying for her. That skanky aunt wasn't crying for her. Stepmeth wasn't. Her grandparents weren't. They weren't. And sometimes justice, well, actually all the time, justice is very slow, but it does happen. So I will see you guys back here tomorrow. another case we have been following since 2021. We're going to talk about some trial recap. It's a tough one to watch, but together as friends, we can do it. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you so much for everything you do. And check on our friend Just Me, Susan, because either she's dancing a jig or she's beside herself crying because she has been enveloped with this case since our very first show. I love you guys.